we didn't have a single penny to eat and to drink properly.
Yeah,
like we would between trainings we would eat the 7 days.
We were low life. no, I'm joking.
Look, like every single person in any job sphere is important. If I didn't have my phone, I wouldn't know when I have an eclipse.
Exactly.
If I didn't have my phone, I wouldn't know when's a full moon.
Exactly.
You know, and most of us are like this. There are people that have the knowledge, but most of us don't have a clue when the sun's gonna come up in the morning if it's dark. There's this hell machine that's called an ergometer.
I'm going to invest 110% of my focus and my attention, even if the client is like a really small business, you know.
By the way, just to oversimplify this, so you basically went to a stadium to watch naked guys flex in front of you.
Yeah, I did.
All right.
Did
you like it?
Yeah, I no, actually.
We achieved our dream, and the dream wasn't what we expected.
Yeah.
If I get limited by anything, it's gonna have to disappear. Being successful is a lot like a mother having childbirth. Everybody loves to say congratulations, everybody loves you, everybody taps you on the back, but nobody knows how many times you got fucked. So All right, mate. Welcome to our first English podcast, right?
Podcast. Yeah, it's the first episode of Kolobar for English.
Yeah.
English-speaking audience.
And I have to say, it's so much better to film in the morning. Yeah. It's like so much more refreshing, so much more positive. Also, there's a lot of sun outside, right?
Yeah. It's a good Saturday morning.
Yes. It's I'm like, by the way, I read something really interesting. I think that it's cool to say it now because it was a really cold winter the past couple of days here in Sofia, right?
Yeah.
And I read an interesting topic regarding the North and the South Pole. In the North and the South Pole, this is like something really normal and standard, but I'm not a scientist, so I didn't know it. And there's a polar vortex and a polar jet stream, and these are basically winds.
Jet stream?
Yes. The jet stream is in the troposphere, which is like the lowest part of the atmosphere, and the polar vortex is in the stratosphere, which is the highest part. Yeah. Exactly. So usually what happens in the winter is the polar vortex is quite strong, and it retains the jet stream. It's basically like sucking it up, and it's becoming denser and denser the stronger it is. And usually in the summer, the polar vortex, which is on the both poles, usually in the summer, especially the north one, becomes more hot, and that's when those winds start going down. But then it's summer, and that kind of balance itself out. Something that happens from time to time, like it happens right now, is the polar vortex during the winter becomes weaker. When it becomes weaker, the jet stream becomes less dense, and it starts basically, especially from the North Pole, spilling down on the planet, especially into Europe. And that's why you have like colder days.
And really strong winds coming from Russia, which is
exactly
really,
and it cannot get balanced out because it's still not summer.
We're kind of protected here, like we are in the Balkans, and we there is a old mountain, Stara Planina, which is protecting us kind of from
our part.
Our part, yeah. But Rose, for example, which is on the north side, on the northern side, it's really, really cold. Like the winters there are terrible. Yeah,
like what's usually the degrees in Ruse that you get in the winter?
Minus 10. Yeah.
Minus 10 to 12.
Today was like minus 7.5 in the morning, and I was like freezing to death, man. What the fuck?
Yeah.
And I remember when I was going to school back in the days, and in the very early morning, like 5:30 a.m., I go out, and when I breathe in, everything freezes. Literally, my insides, I feel like they congest from the freezing temperature. You know? It's like,
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I actually did the other day the small mistake of I forgot to change my liquid in the car from water to a winter liquid.
Damn.
And
did it break like the
No, it didn't. For which I'm happy because the car is in an underground parking lot.
Okay.
throughout the night.
But
but when I'm driving it, so I basically used just to clean a little bit the front windshield, and it instantly froze on the windshield. And I wasn't able to see anything, so I had to stop in the next gas station and fix it. I totally forgot about that.
Thank you for the information, man. That's really informative. And but yeah, that's our first episode. Welcome to Kolobar. I'm Costa. This is George. And you're currently witnessing the product of our common dream that we've had for quite a while. Like it's been years, and we have visualized it. And it's actually very strange how much effort for something that it's something simple, nothing special. To me, it's really special, and I know how much work and time and effort goes into it.
Yeah.
And thank you for starting it with me, man. I'm like,
thank you, man.
I'm honored to have you as a partner in this endeavor. You know.
Me too. Like we have been doing we've gone through so many challenges in the past, and we've done so many interesting things, and we've had so many interesting conversations.
Yeah.
That we felt like we wanted to share those things with people, because I mean, at least to us, even like not just sharing, but learning from other people the same stories, or similar ones. This was a part of this dream that you're describing.
Yeah.
And it really took us. I have to say, at least in my opinion, this has been an idea for many years, but it's just that
at least
now,
10 years.
Yeah, but at least like just now we decided to do it.
Yeah.
It's kind of strange if like people that are watching, they like usually everybody has some sort of an idea or a dream for something, and the most difficult part in general from what I've witnessed is just to start it, to make the first step. Yeah. And once you make the first step, that's actually when you start the real growth.
Yeah.
So for anybody that's having any ideas, there's never going to be like a perfect time to do anything.
Moment. Never gonna come.
Never going to be perfect conditions. Never going to be anything that's in the best case scenario. So you might as well just start it today and learn as you go. Right?
That's something funny. That's funny you said that, because I've been thinking about having children. I have been just
whoa.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
We switched really quickly here.
let me.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
No, even if you're not, let me just continue my thought. So I was thinking about having children a lot, because like I'm 28 years old, and time flies. If you think about it, my parents already had 2 children by the 30s. So I'm not saying that that's the best move, but it's never going to be the perfect moment. And that's something that they explained to me. Like, if you wait to be rich or to have to be able to provide for your family enough so that they are not starving, as we, in the past, as we used to. And basically, if you have all the financials, all the support, to have a perfect family, it's never going to come. It's never going to be perfect, because next financial crisis comes. We have 200 kilometers away, a war approaching, so it's never going to be perfect.
Approaching?
Well,
come on.
I hope it's not, but it's over there. It's over there. It's not here still yet.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I totally agree with you. And to me, what's the more... you've grown in a family, and I've grown in a family, and we've both been like difficult kids. And what I have seen is incredibly important, at least for me when I was a child, is to have parents that show you real values, that teach you real values, that treat you in the best way possible, that teach you to work, not give you free stuff, but that also reward you when you do something. It's a lot of things. I'm not like trying. Yeah, exactly. And I'm not like trying to teach anybody how to be a parent. My point is, these are the most important things, you know, from a value perspective.
Yeah.
But then again, when you're mentioning your parents, my parents, everybody else, back then you would have recessions every 50 to 40 years. Back then, you would be able to buy a house or an apartment by saving money for 5 to 10 years. All right,
or even less.
Or even less. Right now, you have recessions every 8 to 5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
And for you to save an apartment, it's basically impossible. You have to get the mortgage. You have to get the credit.
It's basically you don't own it. It's the banks
Yeah.
who own it.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
they just wait for you to fail.
Yeah,
You know?
that's basically your access point. They like you have to go through them. That's the access, unless you have like a really strong business.
So
even
that's
if,
really smart of them. They have positioned themselves at the entrance.
Of course, and that's how it goes. If anybody's investing, they know how brokers are. So you always need permission, right? So this is something that I've been doing for 8 years.
Yeah,
in
that's good
sales.
that you mentioned it. So, George, what's your professional background?
Okay, cool. So I've done many different endeavors in the past. I've gone through many different endeavors. My main specialty is sales. I've been doing sales for 8 years, for 5 in the financial industry, and then for 3 years in the automation and cybersecurity industries. So I have a lot of experience. Mainly, it's working with B2B and B2C clients, and in the past couple of years, managing teams of individuals. Of course, sales teams, together with project management and all of those.
So, which did you enjoy the most, B2B or B2C?
Really interesting question. I think that this is kind of like, what do you like watching more, boxing or UFC or MMA? You cannot compare it.
Yeah.
You cannot compare it because one is a really technical. No, both of them are technical, but it's so different. You cannot really put them on the same. For B2C clients, first of all,
the approach is really different, I guess.
Yeah, for B2C clients, you can really play a lot in the conversation with them, and you can really test out many different methods because you can do the sale on the first call if you're good enough for B2C. Regardless,
so they're really flexible in a way. There's not much corporate involvement.
Of course, because the decision maker is on the phone with you, right? So if he likes you and you're able to win their trust and to understand them properly and their needs, this person will be won over by you. Now with B2B, it's more structured, but it's also a bit more complicated, and you have to learn how to negotiate with different entities, because I might be speaking with you, but then you have to speak with the CFO, with the CEO, with the CISO, right? So there's different people in the company where you have to
and
gather.
they redirect you, and you have to be, best case scenario, you have to win them all.
Exactly. And in that best case scenario would be to get them all in a meeting, try to present your idea there, right? And with B2C generally, even though in investments, I've had people with like millions of dollars investing, right? And in B2B, you might have that as well. Predominantly in B2C, it's smaller deals, and in B2B, it's bigger deals, right?
Yeah, of course.
So it also depends on the
scale is different.
Exactly. So these are, and by the way, this is really interesting. The fact that I have experience in B2C and B2B has helped me incredibly to manage my teams in a proper way, because when you're in a team huddle with the team and you're discussing something with them, that's kind of like your B2B client. But then when you're having individual one-on-one meetings, that's your B2C sales call. And I don't take it as a sales call.
It's a good analogy.
Yeah, and it comes in naturally when you have enough experience. So that's the answer to your question, I guess.
Yeah, that's really informative. Myself, I'm not really in the sales industry.
But you have told me that you have even thought about it, by the way. And I have to tell you, I think that you're a natural salesman. I don't know if you know it.
I know it, yeah, because I myself have won pretty much not a lot, but some pretty good deals, but earning millions for other companies. And, I feel that I have it in me, but it's not really, it's very situational, because when I sell something, it's usually something that I'm working with, or I'm selling my own self, because I'm a consultant. So I'm a cybersecurity consultant, a penetration tester for a really big company in Bulgaria and the region.
And you are a really good one, as far as I know, and you are the only one, the only one, or maybe the only one in that company, right? That's working in.
No, that's not exactly right. So the company I'm working for is called Digital Nature, and we have a lot of professionals in the cybersecurity department. I myself am a penetration tester, but we have a lot of different departments in that specific, and we all work together on large scale projects. For example, we provide purple teaming, where so in order for you to understand what purple teaming is you need to first understand that there is a blue team and a red team.
Okay.
The red team.
How you choose the colors?
Yeah, the red is more aggressive, and it's usually the one who attacks the system. So our purpose, our end goal in the distance is to provide security for our clients, no matter if it is the public sector or the private sector. Sorry. And usually it's not enough to just attack the system and tell them, okay, these are the vulnerabilities, you have to fix them. Usually that's just 20 to 30% of the security. Then you have blue team, who are people who integrate security systems like EDRs or intrusion prevention systems, intrusion detection systems, firewalls, antivirus systems, stuff like that. So those are the security systems. And we have integrators, and we also have people who have to actively manage those systems. They're analysts. They analyze the traffic, they analyze the data, they try to find anomalies, and usually those anomalies are created by people like me, professionals or attackers, who are trying to exploit.
Is that why you're in purple, by the way?
No, actually, it's a good point, but it wasn't really that the idea.
So in short, the red team attacks, the blue team defends.
Yeah, and usually, so for smaller clients, we provide only blue team or only red team. But for some major organizations, our clients, they actually need everything, the whole package. And whenever we provide both the red teaming and the blue teaming together, they're a purple team. And that's really powerful when you have both and provided by one single company, because there is better communication, less bureaucracy, and the tests are more in-depth. And whenever I find something, I just report it to our guys, and they're like, oh yeah, that's something really serious. And then they navigate and see how they mitigate the vulnerability. Or I might find a way to go under the radar, and the analysts actually didn't notice me in the traffic. So whenever that happens, and it's not really something that happens a lot, but whenever that happens, that's a critical vulnerability, because you know what could happen if an attacker could go silently into your network. You know.
Do you have like a scoreboard? For instance, if a company hires you and you're able to breach the systems of the blue team that's defending those, right? Let's say you get 20% of the salary of the blue team. You have something like that?
That's we don't have that many sales in cybersecurity, but probably we should. Now that I think of,
that's a really nice. That's really nice. I think motivation for the teams, and it's also going to guarantee, you know, if companies are offering this, and I'm like a big corp, it's gonna guarantee me that you are actually attacking yourselves and you're not just playing around.
You have our guarantee that we are not.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm just saying it. You know,
there is a huge responsibility in our sphere, because we cannot really allow ourselves to be
to miss on something.
Well, it's always possible to miss something, because it's the nature of how attacks work, and because there is a human factor, there is always a possibility for something to be missed. But now with the introduction of a lot of software like artificial intelligence, new methods and methodologies for testing that are evolving by the day, and we're staying up to date using the very edge of the industry to basically try to not allow such mistakes to happen, or such errors, or such to miss something as previously mentioned. But it's always possible. So, and imagine that whenever we're usually working we're trying to defend something of critical value, not just to the client, but to their clients. And it could be also public infrastructure. So your normal day-to-day life could be affected if we don't do our job correctly. So there is a lot of responsibility involved, and everybody is working their hardest in the cybersecurity. And I have witnessed myself a huge amount of top performers in a team, like in a cybersecurity team, which is quite interesting.
What's like a top performer? You mean like
people who are doing more than what's expected from them?
Okay.
To achieve the end goal, which is essentially security. So there are a lot of responsible people in the department.
How are they motivated, those top performers?
I think that they love their job.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they love their job because the cybersecurity industry has a lot of opportunities in different departments. There are threat intelligence analysts who go in the deep web, in the darknet. They analyze leaked data, or they analyze preventative. They are like preventative measures. So what do I mean? Imagine if you are afraid of specific APT, which is Advanced Persistent Threat Group. It's usually state-sponsored hackers. And let's say that you're located in Germany or in America, and you're afraid of Russian hackers. So threat intelligence specialists would analyze how specific APT groups work, how they communicate, and if they get their hands on sensitive data, like they're going to target your environment in that specific date. That's like CIA type of stuff, that's internal information from the attackers, so that you can prepare, you can be ready to survive the attack. Mm-hmm. So you have also those guys, you have integrators, you have analysts, you have pen testers, you have other professions that I don't really even know about, or don't want to share. But when
you're working with this team, so you're a part of those teams, right? Mm-hmm. And I do assume you have higher ups that are working with you, that are managing, the different projects, right? Mm-hmm. And orders. Are they people with the same experience as you?
No, they're even more.
Even more?
Even more,
okay.
Yeah. Because like I myself, I'm quite experienced ethical hacker. I have multiple projects, like hundreds of projects behind my back. For
more than 100?
100 and some.
100 and some, okay.
It's
and you're talking about companies, obviously. You're talking about companies, big corporations, banks, right? That you've worked with.
Yeah, okay. I cannot really share a lot of information about our clients.
No need to share the
names. Industry is basically everything from telecoms, banks, public infrastructure, everything.
Yeah. My point is that you have worked with meaningful companies, right? That's what
I have worked with all types of companies, because to me, my job is I'm going to invest 110% of my focus and my attention, even if the client is like a really small business, mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, my job is to secure the system, and it's always the same. It's not always the same, but of course, it varies. Like the scale of the project varies. Sometimes the amount of testing that is required for a bigger client is much larger, and it's spread across the time. But in the end of the day, what I'm doing is the same. I'm attacking a system, and my job is to compromise the system, to find the vulnerabilities and to exploit them.
It's really good that you mentioned that, because I also assume that you have to keep like some kind of a reputation behind the name of the company, right? Mm-hmm. And this is the same thing that I've that I've been describing to sales teams throughout the years, and to my colleagues as well, because in sales you have big and small clients that you're working with, mm-hmm. And especially in the last company that I worked with, we were working as an outsourcing company, so other companies would hire us to help them with their sales projects, and they would already have a working sales team, there. This sales team would not give two S's to their smaller and medium clients, to their SMEs. They don't care about those. And this basically places a sort of reputation on the company where, you know, a lot of other names would start going through distributors, through partners instead of your company directly, or work with you, because they know that they cannot expect a proper service, that they cannot expect a high value service there. And on top of it, even if you're like a sales professional, a lot of people do ignore the smaller B2C clients that they're working with, and there might come a day in the future where their bigger clients say no to something, and then they have to rebuild their whole business in the next 2 to 3 months, which is incredibly difficult, and people place themselves.
If your reputation is affected by your low standards of work for certain clients, and then you start relying on those clients, then you're basically done.
It's mostly underestimation from what I've seen. You know, they just don't realize what they are doing. They don't realize the risk that they are taking. And in many cases, I've actually seen, you know, I've seen teams struggling with catching some sort of a target, you know, like they would hire me and I would work with those. And I see them struggling with some sort of a target or some sort of a KPI in the sales cycle. And at the same time, they would...
Would you just KPI?
Basically any metric that's working, you know, it can be calls in a certain duration of time. It can be emails or anything else. Yeah. So they would have difficulties with those metrics, but then at the same time, they would be ignoring a huge chunk of their clients because they don't deem they're worthy of time. And by the way, like me and you just went like really deep into like some business stuff here, you know, into cybersecurity.
I mean, we're businessmen after all, aren't we?
Yeah. Like definitely. I mean, for you, I know that you've been quite successful. For me, there hasn't been a single sales project that I've went to that hasn't overachieved by a huge margin. And I am saying this because like we are gonna have like some really interesting, podcasts in the future with guests, and we are always open to other guests from similar areas of business to come into.
Any area for the matter of fact. But when talking about similar, I would love to invite cybersecurity professionals so that we can discuss the very relevant topics that are affecting businesses. And at the same time, it would be really, really interesting to invite other sales managers, directors, and see
mainly directors, presidents, I would say, even of
presidents, of course, of companies, and try to communicate with them, try to see how they work, try to come to an interesting conclusion if they have to improve something, because the purpose, let's talk about the Kolobar Podcast for a bit. So the idea of Kolobar, to me personally, and then you share your thoughts, is a place where we can discuss unfiltered and honest opinion, and that usually is something that a lot of people say about their own selves and about their own businesses and about their own podcasts, but usually they do not really share anything about themselves. And how do you build trust without sharing something about yourself? How do you,
or without even expressing your own opinion, right?
Yeah, I mean, how do you trust somebody who is lying to you, basically, who is hiding information from you?
Yeah, it's not necessarily lying, but if anybody is limiting their views just so that they don't sound in a certain way, this means that they have a back against their wall, something that they. So me and you, we've always been like, before even we started any business, like me and you, and these are really interesting stories that we should go into like in other podcasts, but we have had like really crappy jobs, right? Like we have worked at...
We were low life. No, I'm joking.
Look, like every single person in any job sphere is important, but
absolutely.
by
of course I'm joking.
That you mean that the job is like really, obviously it's taking more than it's giving.
Let's give some examples. So I'll share a little bit about myself. So Kolobar Podcast is just the product of many years of self-improvement and basically evolving myself into the person that I feel comfortable with, because I have not always been the person who I am today. And I feel that I have come to a place where I can safely say that I live my day, live my days
in an honorable way.
Yes, but I'm trying to remember a different word, but you could say that. So
you have dignity.
Exactly, with dignity, with respect, with love, with open-mindedness.
This basically means right now you're giving more back than you're taking.
Yeah, I mean, of course, because back in the day, so I'm 28 years old. To a lot of people could say, you don't know really anything about life and shit and stuff like that. But
which is fine, by the way.
Which is fine, but at 20 years old, I have lived more than people at 40. And because I'm a person who compares himself, and I'm really competitive person, and those are stuff that I have analyzed quite deeply about myself and about other people. So at the age of 12, I already knew what back then my purpose in life would be, and I dreamed, and I didn't really see any other option for myself, which is I wanted to be a soldier. Back in the days in Bulgaria, where we are located, the army was basically disbanded. From 200.
Isn't it right now the same?
Yes, but back then it was 200,000 people in the army, and they started firing en masse. Yeah. And I couldn't really apply to be a soldier. So I started looking and researching how can I be a soldier but not be in my country's army. So I have found workarounds, and the French Foreign Legion was that workaround. It was the only place on earth that would allow me to even try to be a soldier. So at the age of 12, I set my goals, I set my vision, and I knew that that's my purpose, that's everything I wanted. And for the next 7 years, I basically, everything I did in my day-to-day, from thinking to sleeping to working out. I have been working out 3 times a day with you a lot, because then I met you. I think I was like 14 years old, something. It's 14 or 15 years old. I met you.
14 probably.
14, I think, yes.
Yeah. When we started rowing,
yeah.
Or at least I started.
Yeah. But I'm even now I'm skipping some important information.
Well, we cannot get everything, and we probably shouldn't. But yeah.
Yeah. So for the next 7 years, since I was 12, I basically worked my ass off because I was just a kid. I knew what I wanted. I knew I wanted to be a perfect soldier, and unfortunately, a perfect soldier shouldn't really be a normal person. I was at a point in my life where I didn't really think of myself as a human being. I just wanted to not think about myself. I didn't have that perception of trying to protect myself.
We were both quite self-destructive, you could say, and to me.
But self-destructive could sound in many ways like...
But that's like the case,
It is the case.
That's the case because you have like absolutely no self-perseverance.
Yeah.
And you train to a point, because we were both training like so much every single day, thanks to Ivan Veselin.
Let's give an example of our training.
Of the Fortuna. Yeah, well, in the morning, you would go in the morning at maximum 7 a.m. in the morning. Yeah. You would do an 8 kilometer
run.
Cross.
I mean,
run. An 8 kilometer run to warm up. Then you would do squats together with
weightlifting, about approximately 25 to 30 tons, and then
I'm not sure if everybody understands you here. 25 to 30 tons means that, let's say, if you have 100, accumulate. If you have 120 kilos on the squat or more, for every single rep, you can accumulate that and stack them up to sum up to 30 tons. Yeah. For the training.
Then we rest like an hour, and then what?
And then we go into the water with the boats. It's
academic rowing.
Yeah, academic rowing. It's considered, as far as I've read, the most physical sport in the world because, and by the way, huge props to everybody that keeps on training today, that is performing on world levels, on national levels as well.
We know what it takes.
Because this is like, this is the like I have trained.
I don't even know how they do
it. Yeah, I have trained boxing, I've trained MMA, I've trained jiu-jitsu. Basically, the only thing that I haven't trained is Muay Thai because I don't want to break my legs. Like those guys are beasts as well.
Beasts.
But out of every single sport, together with all of those fighting sports, I always have fear from the rowing. Because in the rowing, like you have to do 2 kilometers.
Like PTSD.
I have like
just
PTSD.
from the word 2 kilometers.
Yeah. There's this hell machine that's called an ergometer, and this is hell. Like you have to do
Agony.
2 minutes below, let's say 2 kilometers below 7 minutes, let's say, and this is the one thing that I'm always scared of. I always have huge fear of this whenever I do it in the fitness right now because we're not training this so much. But back in the day, this is what we would do. Like you would do on the boat, in the lake,
16 to 20 kilometers,
sometimes even 30 if you remember.
Yeah,
like
but when we did 30 kilometers we usually did less weight.
Yes, of course. And then in the evening maybe you would do something more. So this would be every single day that we're doing.
In the evening we did a lot of core training for abs.
Not just abs, it's
I mean,
all sorts of different.
I don't really know the English appropriation for that specific training.
A lot of trainings for back as well.
For the core.
Yeah.
So and we didn't really finish then. When I come home, I wait to get to I rest until 12 a.m. and then I go to the stadium and do a test copper, which is 12-minute run at maximum. Yeah. And I was actually a couple of seconds close to the world record, and you never believe me about that.
I don't know. I don't quite remember this story. Maybe you still haven't showed me. I don't know. But and that's a good point. To train to that level, it's incredibly important for every single, I guess, young guy, right? But
no,
also
not really. Don't do that. This is insane, and it affected me. And it affected me. No, truly, it affected me to my health was really affected because at the age of 19, 20, I went to a doctor once, and he told me that of course, this is something that we never believed doctors because he basically said that I'm never gonna be able to train again because my как бяха стави? Ligaments my ligaments are of a 50-year-old guy.
Yeah, they said the same to me, and this is not something like, I was gonna say something else, and I agree with you. So on one part you have like the physical capabilities and how you're destroying your body.
Yeah.
But let's not forget that me and you, at least for me and you, as far as I know, I don't know about the others, we didn't have a single penny to eat and to drink properly.
Yeah,
like we would between trainings we would eat the 7 days, those small
no, I mean, let's compact it. For a whole week I would eat approximately 8 sandwiches.
Yes.
And then when I come home, I would, because we are on the training base from morning to dawn, and we wouldn't eat much then.
But that's what I'm saying. It's not even
because
like
of the trainings. It's more like the diet that you keep. So if you have the finances to finance your diet appropriately, then you would be a beast. Basically.
Yes, because there was this guy, and I give props to him, Nicky, for instance. He was like a huge beast because his father knew everything. His father knew how to teach him. He was motivated.
He was and he's still a beast. He's competing right now, by the way.
Yeah, and that's perfect.
And he went to a competition in Coventry. I went to go and see him. And I have an interesting story to share. So the competition was in a stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And
what sort of a competition are you talking about?
Bodybuilding.
Oh, so he's into bodybuilding now.
I think so.
I didn't know that.
I think so.
I thought
he's been always that massive, so it made sense that he would.
He transferred into like the different.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense because he had a body of an Apollon, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy for him. I hope that he is still, Nikki, if you see this video, I hope that you're still training, man. You have a lot of success in front of you, so keep training.
I think he will. I think that his father is gonna kill him if he doesn't. And I'm saying it in a good way, you know, because for me, I'm saying it in a good way because when I've seen them both there, when they've been sitting there, and his father was looking at him when he was training, his father was there on the side when he was
has
doing
invested a lot of
like he not just invested, but he wanted to make sure that he has those values.
Father's project.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you should say this, but my point is that he wants to make sure that those values related to sports are integrated into his core.
Absolutely,
and that he's following them. And this is like a great thing to see for a dad to do. Like, this is so amazing because I don't see it so much.
What's the lesser, not envy, but jealous?
Yeah. Wait, what do you mean?
I was really happy for him that he's got somebody who...
Oh, in a good way. You were jealous in a good way.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, yeah.
Of course,
I get
but
that.
I was really happy for him because he had the financial and physical support. Physical by him being present there at the trainings. And anyway, so he went to a competition there in Coventry University. Not university.
State.
A stadium nearby Coventry.
Okay.
And I was waiting in the rest, so there is some type of rest between the competitions, and I was chilling in a coffee in the stadium itself, and I was talking to an English guy, and he was basically from the BBC.
So by the way, just to oversimplify this, so you basically went to a stadium to watch naked guys flex in front of you.
Yeah, I did.
All right.
Did
you like it?
Yeah, I no, actually, yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
I'm joking. So
I'm not. I love it because it's fine.
Yes. What? Okay, there we go. I'm not so good with microphones.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get you.
Stop jerking it off, man.
Oh, now you're giving it back. Okay. Let's continue with the story.
Yeah. Firstly, I love bodybuilding competitions. I myself am not bodybuilder, as you can see, but
really,
but the idea of trying to achieve your human potential, your maximum human potential of building muscle and achieving excellence in how your body looks, is something that I admire. And it takes a lot of work and self-destructive.
A lot of people think that, oh man, these guys are on steroids. They take so much testosterone. Man, you know how much discipline and training and food and diet it takes. It takes a lot. Like
no, it's insane because I'm not even gonna go into it. You know, it's insane. Whoever is doing it, man, props to you. I know how. I try to understand how much it takes.
Because it's like a lot of people don't want to. Even in the past, I didn't compare it to sports. It's just because it's so different. Because it kind of takes. It's like your whole race. The way you have it in the academic work, it's kind of like your everyday, because you have to keep every day this level of trainings of diet and discipline. And in the sport you have it as well, but your accumulation is in the race in the physical sense of the word. Whereas the accumulation there is, I guess, before the race, and then the race is showing your results.
Yeah, exactly. The race itself is showing the results of like months of work or even a year. Yeah. You know, and not even here. It's a lifestyle. It's a life.
Yeah, for a lot of people.
For the professionals, the real professionals. Anyways, so I went there to.
Are we ever gonna finish this story?
If you keep.
Sorry.
So I went there, and that's not actually the first time that it happened to me. But I talked to a guy, just a small chit chat, you know. And the guy was like sharing some information because I'm interested, I'm curious, and I'm asking questions. And he works at the BBC. Worked actually at the BBC, and he probably had some sensitive information in his head that he wanted to keep for himself. And but I kind of navigated the conversation really masterful. I don't know how to say it. And at the end, he was like, "I have to stop. You're a spy."
What? Where are we going with this?
So no, I'm showing you his reaction. I'm showing you his reaction
All
because I navigated the conversation and he was like, wait, you're a spy. And that's actually something funny that happened to me multiple times in the UK. A lot of people thought that I'm a spy.
What kind of a spy?
A person who is there on a mission to extract sensitive information.
From where?
From basically anywhere. I don't know. That's a spy. You know, a spy could be somebody...
You're talking too good to me. Is that what they're saying, basically?
Yeah. You're being nice. You're being curious. You're being...
Imagine like the society, especially like I cannot say anything huge about other countries and cities because I live here, right, together with you. But I've heard that London is a really terrible place to live.
No, not. It depends.
London, not Coventry.
I mean, the reputation is... it's quite bad because of a lot of stabbings, a lot of
street crime,
unfortunately. But the city is beautiful. The majority of people are really nice, actually, and welcoming. And it's when you live in a huge city like it. How many million is London?
I have no idea. Can you check how many millions? What's
Live
the population of London?
Tens of millions. I mean,
8.9 million.
Okay, 8.9.
There you
that's
go.
actually
Almost.
quite small. I thought it's 20 million.
That's just bigger than Bulgaria.
Yeah.
Quite small. That's just bigger than Bulgaria in one city.
In one city, the whole of Bulgaria.
Okay, yeah,
times
quite small.
2.
Yes.
So the sense of you being a single person is very relevant there. So you feel really small, and you feel like you're living in one huge country, and you don't feel part of the nation. There's no sense of nation. There's no sense of being part of something bigger. And there are a lot of people who really think about themselves only. So you can have that sense in every major big city, like in Paris.
But I've seen it like even here. I think that this is kind of the society that gets built into, because you get separated not just because you're alone in a space. I think that you get separated by your phone, by social media, by ideas,
your lifestyle,
and because there's
just being a little bit more open to the world, trying to be a little bit more curious about what other people do and not just what you do, and it left
sometimes it's also following other people.
It left the impression in a lot of people that I'm a spy.
Oh, you're talking. Yeah. I got you.
But anyway, that was just a small story that I just wanted to inject, but it turned out to be that.
Well, we discussed a lot of. Nonetheless, I think it was useful. And what I wanted to catch from that,
everything started talking about Kolobar and our time and everything. So let's get back to the main objective of that rant in the beginning. So after I turned 18, I went to the Legion. Things didn't work out great. We went together.
We both went, and we can tell this story some other time. Long story short, we achieved our dream, and the dream wasn't what we expected.
Yeah.
Can we say it like this?
Yeah, of course.
Right? A lot of people, really shortly on psychology, I'm not sure if this
We're
is
going
Freud
to have
or Nietzsche
a whole podcast for that, I believe, because people are going to be interested to hear a little bit more about our experience. But let's not really dive, because that's
my point is the following. Everybody has a dream, and there's a lot of people that have the power to achieve this dream. Just really be careful on what exactly it is, and if you're looking at the truth or something that you have built in your head. Because one way or another, you're going to invest years probably into this thing, and you never know what you're getting.
So let me put it in a different way. I believe that was something that I'm really grateful that we focused on in our early life, because basically what you're trying to say as an advice is, if you're trying to set a goal for yourself, something that you want to strive and work for, try to, before going into it, get a book and start writing the positives and the negatives. Like, what am I going to achieve from the journey to achieving this, because usually the journey is what matters, and our journey allowed us to get more sense of responsibility, get more sense of discipline, get more sense of winning over your own self, trying to beat yourself, to win, to basically win against yourself.
Yeah. And I would even go one step further. When you do those things and when you write them, sometimes it's really difficult and sometimes it takes time, but it would be great if you are able to speak with somebody that has achieved this thing.
Absolutely. No, that's
this
really
is probably
important. This is really important.
Yes. We did speak with people like this, and we should have even spoken with more. And there's always going to be a person that has discovered what you're trying to do. You're not going to discover the warm water.
Also, that's really interesting. Let me just try to inject a secondary opinion on the matter. So, what do I mean? Be careful when you speak with people who are doing what you try to achieve, because those people are sometimes not going to be fully accurate, open, because imagine that you have been 15 years, you have invested 15 years of your life and you realized at some point that it's pointless. But you wouldn't say the same to another person, because then you make yourself pointless. So they would try to paint it in a way to look cool, So always take the different overview, the different opinion with a second...
Try to look at the facts and try to dig down into the details that the person is providing you with, and to question those in a way where you can get how and where it started and where it ended.
And especially if you're a teenager, this is really important. I was really naive, and I loved the romanticized
becoming a Spartan warrior. You can imagine it like this, at least for me.
This is good. I mean, this is something that I wanted, and this is something that we have achieved in different ways. But the romanticized idea of soldiering is
the heroism,
the heroism and everything. It's nothing like it. So
back then,
totally different.
if I think I can be a bit more direct. Back then, going and defending for a country like the neighboring nation, and even killing people, shooting somebody, defending yourself if something happens. No, like that's like people especially in those fields, people especially in the soldiering field, in even bodyguarding and anything related to this. This is heroism,
Heroism,
and back then to us it is, and today we think in a totally different way. So especially for a young guy, when the hormones and testosterone
you want
is
to
building
prove
up,
yourself.
like you want to prove yourself. These are all like great things.
You want to become a man.
But exactly what you're doing, you really need to be careful, and you really should listen to people that have a bit more experience in life. Because a lot of people have told us things that we believe now, but back then we laughed.
Thousands of people actually told me, and their approach was very raw. Their approach was like they didn't believe me. They didn't believe that I can achieve it. They didn't believe that I can do it, and that motivated me.
Which is really stimulating to a young guy.
Really, really stimulating, because I hated being doubted, and that's something that I have experienced a lot.
Exactly the same for me. Exactly the same, and really, yes. So this is especially in sales, because we spoke about it in business back then. This is like the one way that most people communicate with others, being so direct, especially if you know a better way to do something, and it's just lacking enough sympathy with the person, understanding their viewpoints, agreeing to like putting yourself in their shoes, and then trying to move them out of their shoes while you're standing inside of those. This is what's lacking in so many conversations that I've been into.
If only there was a person who will come into the conversation and lead it with an example.
Yeah, exactly.
Like saying, I did that. I went there, I saw it with my own eyes, and I saw that. And
then giving you the freedom, by the way.
And then giving you the freedom to think on it, to argue with it, but at some point when you're young and that it's young and stupid, and there is a reason for that. You just have a set. You at some point, because I've heard thousands of people, literally, not even exaggerating, thousands of people who are trying to make me reject my goal, to stop believing that I can do it. At some point, I just stopped listening to everybody, because there wasn't a person who will basically make me think otherwise.
Yeah.
Which is quite stupid, because you close yourself in a box, and you reflect every opinion, every person who tries to even help you, even if it's a small minority.
And to a certain extent, I I have the feeling that we are giving, like, if we're talking about this topic and we're like giving quote unquote advice, right? Maybe the people that are gonna be listening to us are not so much those that are us. I think that me myself, if I'm watching myself right now, I'm not gonna listen at all. And there's people that just need to do it and learn from their mistake and learn from experience. At least that's how we are, I believe. And you cannot just persuade them into anything like this. So if you know that somebody's going to be doing something, at the very least, I think that what's best is to support them and to try to help them so that they don't fail as much, and so that they can understand that even if they continue in that direction or not, they can still trust you that you have this bond and you have this help.
This is something really, really important.
This has been missing for me in those times, so that's why I'm saying it.
So to me, it wasn't like that. So the first 4 years, my parents were like, "Are you fucking crazy? What are you doing?" That's it. They were totally no. But no, the first 2 years they didn't believe me. Then after 2 years, they noticed that I still have that goal and I'm serious about it, and they became more serious, more cold, more you shouldn't, you wouldn't, and so on. But after 4 years, they realized that it's a lost battle. They cannot really. I have chosen it for myself, and my father is an ex-military commander, and he understands the reasons behind my choice, and he was ready to accept that his son might die for pointless war, but he understood the human factor, the human wants, what a boy needs to become a man. A new perspective, a different life that's full of obscurity and difficulties, like difficult environment and so on. Basically, an environment that's really dangerous.
But this is like, not a lot of people would agree with you, on this. For many people, like, because you said, for a boy to become a man, to go through those challenges and hardships, and I agree with you, like, we're on the same topic here, but for a lot of people, this is not what it is. They don't look at it that way, and especially in today's world, I feel like it's more of a given. They're trying to describe it as if it's a given for you to.
Do you think this is a good or a bad thing?
To me, anything in life that you cannot, that you're not earning, is bad. Like, you need to earn everything. You need to earn to be called a man. You need to earn to be called a woman. You need to earn to be called a leader, a manager. You need to earn to be called the greatest at something. You need to earn to be called a mother, right, or a father. And earning those things takes work, and it takes knowledge. It takes experience. It takes failures. That's how you win at something, right? Through failure. And in today's culture, and I think everybody sees this and knows it, and it's kind of like forbidden to say it, but most things have gone into, for good or bad, as I'm saying, I think it's bad. Most things that a person can call himself or can achieve are kind of like a given.
All right, but let's say that I didn't have a choice. My parents, theoretically speaking, raised me in a box, trying not to hurt me, trying to give me and provide me with everything, not to challenge me too much because I'll cry and I'll scream. So I have been raised like that, and then I go to school and I graduate with good exemplary results.
Grades, yeah.
And then I go into the work environment, and I'm kind of just being how to say it, more arrogant. I don't know.
Why arrogant? Because you have achievements from school, or what? What are you trying to say?
Because I'm used to getting what I want.
All right, I get what you're saying. So you mean you're spoiled, so you expect to get provided.
Let's say
something.
from the perspective of a parent.
Mm-hmm.
From the perspective of a parent. In nowadays, what would you do to? I'm not a parent. You're not a parent, but we've both been how to say it, really difficult to control in our teenage age. When we were teenagers, and even lesser from really young age.
Okay.
We were really difficult to control.
So what's the question?
So you have those types of boys who are really, full of energy, and they're naughty, and they want to experience life in a different way. But you also have those other boys, and the majority of those probably, I don't know, who are more calm. They want to read books. They want to, but that's also a good way to live your life, and it's a better way, in my opinion, in a lot of ways, because you're not a troublemaker. So how would you, what's the path, what's the journey for a much calmer person to go through those difficulties to earn his title of a man, let's say, or a woman, or a father, or a parent?
So I understand. So you're kind of so the question is coming from a point where having hardships is connected to like breaking your head against the wall or doing something physical.
Not always.
Well, that's what I mean. In my opinion, going the more intellectual way, like there's one of my colleagues has two boys, two brothers, and I'm not gonna say their names, okay? But they're like, both of them are like super cute, like super cool boys, really, really nice children, And one of them is, I think, first grade. The other one is third one. Is third grade. And
first and third.
Yes, and the smaller one is like an absolute maniac. He's like he's like a monkey. He's like climbing, breaking. He wants to like learn how to fight, how to do this and that. And his older brother is like super calm and collected. He wants to read. He likes to sleep more. He likes to take it, casual. And he's like really. I'm speaking with him, and he's talking with me as if he's like sixth grade. He's like super intelligent. And what they do is they try to like, well, one thing is for the brothers to take note from the other one and how he's behaving, and to get the good things. So the one that is more calm and intellectual, more moody, to see the energy from the smaller one, and to try to integrate that, to just try to go out a little bit more, not to change himself, not to change his way of life, but to try to move, because that's healthy. He has more in the brain and less in the body. Whereas the smaller one has a lot in the body, like lots of energy, but he doesn't like to, something happened.
And this one.
Oh my goodness, let me just check it.
Yeah, check it.
That's not cool. It's not nice.
I guess, that's a really good point of view. I mean, it's not, I don't think that there is a single way to get to that point, right? So there is not a single path for you to take. There's multiple ways to earn that title, right? In the end of the day, to me, it's not about you have to run 100 miles. It's more like, what your strengths are. Like let's say that you're more intellectual type of person, right?
Yeah.
Then you should read more. You should do more. You should try to be more, right?
Yeah, so it's kind of like, I feel like we're not even like, it's a really nice topic because we're reminding people, but it's I want to mention that we are not
we're not trying to anything
new, right?
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
huge
it's not like
mentors
we're
in the past, yogis, Buddhism, everything is about balance, having balance. And your question is, how do you teach if you have like your son, if you have your son being more balanced and more collected, how would he go through those hardships if he hasn't experienced them when he is small? Well, this is what you can introduce him to, and it's something that doesn't necessarily mean that he has to like learn how to box or go to academic rowing or something else, but he really needs to go through incredibly difficult, let's say, mental exams or anything like this, where this person needs to be able to go from 18 years old onwards alone, right? For you and for me, I think, at least I can speak for myself, I didn't even have a choice. Like when I was smaller, like
we didn't have a choice.
Yeah. So, and we kind of placed ourselves in that situation, right? But for both of those spectrums, and there's like different sorts of people all across the globe. There's more calm, more positive, more negative, more moody. Like in today's world, there's a lot of depressed people, and what really needs to when you're trying to help out, I guess, your kids or even your friends,
or a colleague,
it's more or a colleague. It's more about finding how to lift them up to that balanced state. Sometimes it's, for me, for instance, I consider myself a total idiot. So, if I give an example with myself, I try to read more. Now I can discuss a lot of different topics, but I don't know all the facts, right? And I try to read and to study more facts so that I can use my
knowledge,
normal energy and normal arguments, normal argumentative mode. Yeah, backed up with facts. So that's one way. Another topic is in sales, when I'm working with the teams with the different people. A lot of them are really good in negotiations with clients, with communicating. They're good on doing those specific motions, tasks, tasks on the computer. But then they would have a lot of days where the day would be a little bit more scrambled in their head. They wouldn't be so organized, or they wouldn't have so much energy because they haven't been doing something in their free time, or they have been doing something bad. Like it might be, and we all know it. I'm sorry if anybody gets offended, but I'm talking about smoking, drinking, sitting, watching something, everything that's just making you more stale.
Smoking.
I don't know. Well, yeah, okay, sure. What? Like, do you know that this is like 200 or 500 chemicals inside that probably the company that makes them doesn't know what they are?
I think that they're like 2,000 actually.
I don't know, but I think it's above of 500 chemicals right there that you're basically warming up enough so it can come out as smoke, and then you're putting it in your lungs.
It's actually different. So it's actually a couple hundred in a liquid state, and once they're vaporized and inhaled, they become a couple thousand.
Amazing. So you're basically breaking chemical bonds right now into your lungs.
Yeah.
And how do you feel? Great.
I feel intoxicized. No, I'm kidding.
Intoxicated. What does it do for you?
No, I'm kidding.
No?
I mean...
No, like, come on, describe it.
I feel like it's... It makes me do a certain motion, and that motion... no, seriously, that motion gives me relaxation. Relax.
The motion with the hand?
Yeah.
Well, why not just take like... There you go. You can take this straw and you can do it with that.
It's weird.
Why not use this?
It's weird.
Okay, why not do it without smoking?
Because the smoke is an added value.
Yeah. I guess like
I'm not promoting that, by the way, and you shouldn't smoke, of course. It's bad for you. This is bad for you. I'm not a scientist. I don't know how bad it is for you, but it shouldn't be good because you're inhaling chemicals. Yeah,
like I've done in the past a lot of shisha. I was a huge lover of shisha, and I even bought for my home a huge nice one. And the third or the second time, I instantly understood that it's a huge mistake, because I try to train every single day in the morning, like cold showers, gyms, runs, all of those things, because they help me perform better in business. And the shisha was just limiting me in those areas.
Yeah, it is.
And if I get limited by anything, it's gonna have to disappear. This cannot be.
I understand that. Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah. So that's why I'm asking you, because you're like a high performer in your field.
Yeah.
And I know that, and
I train every day.
Yeah, and it's also like a different thing, I know that nicotine helps think. I know that it increases the capacity of the brain to structure thoughts. You become faster also, but then you have the nicotine withdrawal when you're not using that.
Yeah, it's not
you
that
become
bad.
slower in the brain, and that's
if
why you have to smoke.
No, it's if you're a cigarette smoking. It's the.
Does this have nicotine?
Yeah.
Well, that like that's enough.
Yes, but there is not. So what I'm trying to say is that, I guess because I'm not really that informed, but logically thinking, and personally feeling, there is no nicotine withdrawal, because it's not that. I don't remember the word.
Sometimes you might not feel it, but try not smoking for 1 month.
I did. It's not something that I haven't done.
Maybe okay, fair enough. Let's just say that, because you're describing it to people as if that doesn't exist, but like
no, it exists. It exists. But what I'm trying to say is that, but I forgot the word that I'm trying to use. So
describe it.
The amount of nicotine is different across different. For example, in cigarettes, the amount of nicotine is different. The nicotine in gums is different. The nicotine in this is different. So the amount of it is different. So you have a noticeable change when the amount is higher than normal.
I read a really interesting story when you said gums in Reddit. There was this guy that was saying, he was smoking a lot. And when smoking, obviously, the smoke goes out. And then if you have like he had a girlfriend. So first of all, she was against it because he reeked of cigarettes, right?
Yeah.
But then the second thing is he wanted to live more healthy. So he got gums that have nicotine inside of them, nicotine gums. And because he was such a vivid smoker, he started using those nicotine gums all the time. And normally he would kiss his girl. Throughout the first week, when he's kissing her, he starts witnessing that she starts kissing him back more and more and more from the first to second week.
She's addicted.
Yeah, and then at a certain point, when they're let's say in the car or outside, if he's not chewing the gum, she would try to kiss him even more. And at one time, he just asked her, like, why are you kissing me so much? Why have you become so addicted to kissing me? And she tells him without even noticing, when I don't kiss you, I kind of start feeling bad and wavy.
It's dopamine.
So yeah, she actually has nicotine withdrawals from his gums.
Man.
Yeah, well, that's the story. But let me just check this. I feel like these cameras have like a 1 hour time frame that we've placed them on, and now this one is gonna go off.
Probably, I don't know.
But I'm gonna fix it.
Yeah, check them both. Yeah. That's an interesting story, though.
But don't say that it's not real, because
no, I'm not saying at all. I'm not saying it's not real. I'm just saying that I don't feel nicotine withdrawal in such an high intensity as you say. I'm not saying it's not possible. And also that's from human to human, there is a lot of difference. Some are more sensitive than others.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's wrong with this camera. I think that's something I have to check it, but
yeah, that's fine. Probably we can take a break and we can cut that. Just to fix the cameras, and now just take a piss. All right.
All right, we are back. We're back. Yes, we can clap for those guys that record same as us. They know.
Yeah, we had to change the batteries of the cameras. we're not really that expensive production. We don't have multiple people laying around working for us. Everything is on us.
Self-made. But that's how it goes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy with it. So let's try to talk a little bit about what really is Kolobar. Why Kolobar?
What's
always start with why.
Yes, exactly. So, by the way, just about the word for those that don't know, and I was thinking about this the other day, and I don't know how it went out of my head, and we didn't even notice it. So, Kolobar is a Bulgarian word for a warrior shaman back in the days, like 300, 400 BC, and it was in the books it stopped existing in the 900. In 897 when Bulgaria took on Christianity, but nonetheless, of course, those methods and the way of living, that shamanistic warrior type of living, remained in certain families, because the highest Kolobar in the hierarchy was the right hand of the Khan, of the king, basically back then, and he was advising the king in methods of war, in how he should lead in certain perspectives. The Kolobar was also taking care of the heir of the Khan, and he was teaching him certain knowledge. And they had a lot of knowledge on the weather, on specific eclipses, for instance. Like
they had knowledge of the stars.
Of the stars, yes.
The Bulgarians had like the most accurate calendar back then, which was
they
star
still do.
Calendar, and
Yeah.
they still do.
Yeah.
Like the Chinese was
taken from there.
Was created on from the knowledge of the Bulgarian calendar.
For those that don't understand, we have currently you have 365 days, and then you have 1 year of 366, where you have the 29th of February, right? This is for it to balance out those calendars. But the Bulgarian calendar back then had always 365 days, and I think on Christmas or on New Year, the day was basically called zero day. There wasn't a day. It's
not existing.
Yeah, it's non-existent, and if you go in that way, if you use your calendar like that, every single day will remain the same. For instance, imagine that the 12th of February would always be a Saturday.
There's no need to change that.
Exactly. So, fun fact. So, Kolobars back in the day, for instance, there was, I said it last time, but I'm just going to repeat it for the English audience, right? Like a really interesting story from 514 BC. There was... AD, yeah, sorry about that. 514 AD, there was a battle on the Kaliakra Cape, and this battle was performed by one of the emperors who had a full army of Bulgarians, basically. Back then, Thracians, you could call it, right? Inside of that army, they had different Kolobars that would also do sacrifices to make sure that the gods are in favor of them in the battle. But what they also did is they told the emperor exactly on which day and at what hour to engage the opposing army, which was a 60,000 army, 60,000 people, much bigger army. So when they engaged with that army, there was an eclipse that formed specifically in that moment, and the attackers fled in fear, started jumping in the water, and basically the emperor was able to slaughter them and to win the battle due to that knowledge.
Quite barbaric,
but that just shows
that knowledge won the day.
Exactly, and it just shows how important it is. Even today, I mean, we can pretend to be really knowledgeable, and everybody here, from the 21st century can do that. But if I didn't have my phone, I wouldn't know when I have an eclipse.
Exactly.
If I didn't have my phone, I wouldn't know when's a full moon.
Exactly.
And most of us are like this. There are people that have the knowledge, but most of us don't have a clue when the sun's gonna come up in the morning if it's dark.
I mean, tomorrow, let's say, theoretically, the sun just farts and our electricity is gone and we're back in the Stone Age.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to gain that knowledge, and it's actually probably gonna be really difficult. So what I was trying to say is, I was thinking the other day about this, and for the West audience, the closest thing you can imagine to a Kolobar is The Witcher.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody knows, but a lot of the stories in The Witcher are taken from Slavic stories, from Slavic legends. A lot of the monsters are Slavic.
Yeah.
The songs even in the game and in the series are kind of like a mix of Bulgarian songs and other songs. So
Slavic songs.
Yeah. But
because we have Bulgarian songs exactly as the same, but they're like on Polish language, and we have Polish songs, but they're on Bulgarian language. And
something like that.
Basically, the cultures are really, really close, and they're close linguistically speaking, because at some point, Cyril and Methodius were hired to create the Cyrillic alphabet, which is Bulgarica. It's just as you have Russian language is Russian. You have American language is American. English is English, Spanish is Spanish, but only Bulgarian language is Cyrillic. And 250 million people speak on it.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's a topic which is very...
An interesting point.
Yeah. But the idea of Kolobar. So, yeah, I mean, what to you, what is Kolobar?
So you mentioned that it's about open expression of your opinions. And one step ahead of that, at least for me, would be to give a proper example. One, when we're talking on, we're going to talk on an unlimited amounts of topics. And when we go through those topics, for me, I'm the type of a guy where it matters what I'm doing it for.
Yeah.
And if it's something good, if it's something bad, in the long run, if we're discussing, like, as you said, like cybersecurity, or we're going to have like a really interesting guest about robotics or business, where are we going in the next 2 years, in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years? What's the aim of it? So my goal would be to provide a proper, as much as I can, a proper example of how things can be done.
Yeah. Practically,
not just like talking, because
on a very small scale, because that usually is where the secret is. Like
exactly.
What's most important? The details. Yeah, that's because we can always generalize. We can always talk over and over, on many different topics. But if there is no practicality, if there is no example, everything is just talk. So that's something really important for us. Whenever we want to talk about something, let's provide some examples. Exactly. And that's why we started with our own selves, with our own example, because we want to talk on a lot of stuff, and we want you to understand who we are. And I know that just from a single episode of Kolobar, it's not really that possible, but hopefully if you stay along for the journey, you get to know us better, and hopefully if you insert your feedback to us in the comments, we can create that type of community where we can communicate, where we can hear your feedback, where we can discuss ideas, because ideas to us are really, really important. Yeah. We love discussing ideas, and we love theorizing. To me, this podcast is, I would like to also...
to include the viewers.
Yeah, right. Really important. But also, I would love this podcast to be a place, a platform where we're allowed to think,
to think openly, to make mistakes, openly, to realize something,
to theorize, to sometimes and a lot of times to take stands and point of views that we do not agree with, but there must be a balance in the discussion so that we can get to the truth, because if we're agreeing on everything, then there's the truth becomes irrelevant.
Yes, I agree with that.
So a lot of times I myself, I'm going to, or you, or whomever is here, we would like to provide with the freedom to think critically and to express themselves in a way they don't even agree with them, like to express a view that you do not agree with.
Mm-hmm. I think that this is incredibly important, because this is something that's quite lacking in today's world, and it's kind of taboo. Yeah, it's to a huge extent. It's taboo to think in this way, because it's
not for the majority of people, because the majority of people kind of remain the
majority
sanity,
of people might be thinking that way, but they are not expressing like what's really important.
There is a repercussion to express it.
Exactly, and this is proven. And I think that it was I forgot the name of the guy, but he basically said, the way you talk is the way you're gonna think. So if you stop talking a certain way,
it's both ways.
Yeah. So if you stop talking a certain way,
you start thinking a certain way.
Yeah, slowly but surely, you go down that road in your way of thinking, right? So this is called critical thinking in short.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why back, and I've said this like many times, back in Norse mythology, the greatest power that the gods addressed for them, the greatest power was the language. Because if you knew how to use language, you would be able to even to persuade God to do something for you.
Yeah.
And that's why.
So a God can move a whole planet, but if you can persuade him to move that planet for you, then that's
essentially you're moving the planet.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're not even a God.
Yeah.
So that's the mentality there, and that's why the world forms always around marketing, around media, around shows like this. That's why it's also so difficult for us to create something like this of our own. That's why right now, even to create an audience, it's almost impossible. Because we just started, and maybe like a couple hundred people are gonna watch us in the beginning, right? Mm. And we're talking on, at least to me, really interesting topics, really interesting ideas. But like 8 months ago, I posted like the dumbest clip possible about like some about people crapping on the
sidewalk
on public toilets, and it became viral because
really viral.
Yeah, because it's just an expression of.
Well, let's be honest. The video was really, really fun, and the way you created that video was like, if the majority of people videotaped that scene, they would have approached it differently. The way you approached the scene, and the way you explained the storyline, and the way you expanded. It's really captivating, even though the topic of the video is really about shit.
Yeah, and it's the dumbest thing, and that's my point. It's the dumbest thing possible.
Yeah,
it has like thousands and thousands and thousands of
probably
views.
we should
probably not.
No, but we are talking about it, so I guess we will leave a link so you can decide for yourself if it is funny or not.
Like, most people won't even understand anything, but
it's in Bulgarian.
It's in Bulgarian, but
probably should put a subtitle.
Yeah. Whatever. Like, what I'm trying to say is like building something meaningful where you're talking certain topics.
Just remembering about
it's for some reason more difficult to distribute to audience than it's.
Yeah, I mean,
then it's easy to distribute
stupid news and stupid, to me, silly. Let's say silly. Topics spread like wildfire, while meaningful conversation, intellectual conversations, critical thinking is like not that interesting, I guess.
But this is what I'm trying to say. That's why it's so important to know language. Like, if you know your audience, if you know the people on the other side, then you know how to express yourself and to say it.
Because there is a lot of people
be able to hook them up.
Exactly, because I guess that you're totally right. Our approach we would like to create a platform that will balance things out, that will provide an interesting way to talk about,
to learn new things,
and
exactly.
And to help ourselves to learn more, to invite interesting guests that we can learn from, and that we can challenge, even if we can, to the best of our ability, to allow ourselves to ask stupid questions. Because stupid questions, I mean, really simplified from the point of view of somebody who doesn't understand the topic. And those questions sometimes are really, really important, because that's what people actually care about. And for example, if you invite a brain surgeon, you would like to ask him something really simplified to himself from his own perspective, but to me it's like rocket science.
Yeah. And we're always going to try to oversimplify things for ourselves, not for the public, for ourselves. But overall, I think that this is a great way to just say something like our next episode is going to have really nice guests, really interesting guy that's working with innovative solutions in robotics in the European Union. And he already has quite a couple of successful projects related to, imagine like drones that are helping with wildfires, for instance. So it's going to be a really, really cool topic just to get to know how a person goes from a child to having those interests, to building himself, to learning, right? And how this moves forward in the future, because it's going to help us all have, hopefully it's going to help us all have a better life.
Yeah, our approach basically here in Kolobar is not to just focus on the peak of the success. What do you mean? I would like to really understand the person and his path, how he got to this point. Like, if he's of course comfortable with talking about it, but to me it's really important to really understand your journey and then understand the real value of what you have achieved and how you have achieved it, because I feel that if you're missing the journey from the storyline, it's not the same. The value is not there.
That's how it goes. That's always how it goes. That's always how it goes in sales, what I've been working for so many years. If you're presenting something, if you're discussing something with a person, it can be a client or an audience or anybody else, And we would, by the way, love to have people from the audience as guests here. Like this is gonna be like
I have already actually invited somebody.
Great, perfect. Like this is gonna be the best way possible to discuss, because this is a platform for open discussion. So when you are describing an achievement or something that a person is working on, having a story behind it is the one thing that helps the others understand what's happening. It's having that story is the one thing that also stimulates a person.
Yeah, but even if you don't really have a prepared story, it's more like it's more like we're going to try to understand how you got to this point,
because there is always a story.
It really matters for us, and why it matters is because smart people long ago have already discovered that for me to talk about it right now. So it's not really about the achievement itself. It's more like the journey towards that achievement, because during the journey you earn, as we did in the past, discipline. We earned different perspective. We became smarter and more wise. We understood that what we want is not always the best for us, and stuff like this. It's just that those life examples, those life lessons that made you better, that made you smarter, that made you more wise, are also other people can share what made them wiser, what made them smarter, what made them realize that they can achieve this thing.
It's also about failure. It's
exactly. That's a huge part of the success.
Yeah, Dan Pena. It's a really interesting person. They call him the billionaire man, or I think something like this, right?
Yeah, that's that smart guy.
It's an old guy that's like cursing all the time. He's gonna kill
him. I love him. Like, it's amazing guy.
I agree with him on some topics. I don't agree with him on others. He's gonna tell me, "Fuck you. Who are you? Like, you don't have a single penny. You don't know. You don't know what I've done." This is what he's gonna say. But he has a really great quote.
He's not even gonna. He's not gonna probably even say that because he doesn't care.
Yeah, but my point is he has a really great quotes. Being successful is a lot like a mother having childbirth. Everybody loves to say congratulations. Everybody loves you. Everybody taps you on the back, but nobody knows how many times you got fucked. So it's spot on,
Oh my God! Yeah. What? Yeah. No, I truly admire this guy. He's great intellectual.
Yeah. So this is how you know you're successful, regardless if people agree with you or not. Having you on their podcast would be an achievement.
Yeah.
So Dan Pena, you're welcome. Yeah. You're welcome here anytime you want to come.
If he was here, do you think, like, do you on the top of your mind, like, can you remember if there's anything specific that you don't agree with? Or that's a hard question too.
It's a hard question. I saw one of his his interviews,
for example,
they were talking with
okay.
him about global warming, and he basically said that the whole global warming is a scam. And I agree that it's a scam on like this is so complicated.
It's
but
a complicated topic.
My point is, governments and like different institutions, and I'm not gonna like mention names, right? Like to take advantage of real problems that need fixing to implement more control, to implement a different type of financial agreement between the public and themselves.
To enrich themselves because of a real problem. Exactly.
So my point of view would be that there's a lot of proof that global warming is incredibly dangerous.
Yeah.
And
it's
to me, like I remember when I was small how winter was, and I can see how winter is right now.
But that's even, I mean, on the scale to us that is irrelevant, and I will tell you why. Because on the scale of 2,000 years, or that's a
fine,
blink of an eye for Earth.
I know, but for the people like that, I agree with that. And for millions of years, for the world, like let's just disappear, right? But my point is, everybody that's watching, we all live today, right? And everything affects you today. And you're alive today, and I might be like smaller than a pebble in the scope of the universe, but I'm alive. And
true, but what I'm trying to say is that things in the past have been much more extreme than are today, and those small differences, but they make a few degrees of difference in the degrees, as if it is something that is going to end the world, which is totally not the case.
There are calculations where if the global temperature jumps,
a snowball effect. Yeah,
if it jumps with 3 degrees per Celsius, a lot of cities
are going to
more
disappear.
than half of India would be under 3 meters of water. So that's not nobody's gonna probably drown. Well, somebody will probably, but having more than half of India under 3 meters or 2 or 3 meters of water, everything, like you're gonna have the structures, you're gonna have the buildings. What exactly are you gonna do there?
Yeah, I mean, I understand. Yeah, and then a huge populace is going to be moved from one place to another, and then cultural differences are going to be.
And how are you gonna like work with this financially? Are you gonna have enough work for those people? Like we are growing right now more in AI.
Also, that means that less earth is going to be accessible for farming.
Which is like a huge problem. So these are all things that, maybe they're a bit over-exaggerated in a certain extent when you're watching specific news channels. Maybe it's the other way around, but it's something that would affect you in a small or a big way.
So how would you argue against his point of view?
I'm not even going to argue. I'm going to agree with him that on a financial standpoint, he's completely right because, look, let's be honest. The first electrical car was built in 1870s. In the 1870s, if we were going to go that route, we were going to have Teslas in the 1920s. Okay? Like, there have been electrical vehicles for more than 150 years.
A lot of people disappeared because of
and... there's no need to go too much into the topic because it's a whole podcast for that topic.
So you don't argue against his not corporate, his capitalist point of view.
Everything related to capitalism is always a scam. Like I work in sales.
Be careful because there is a certain book there people are gonna think of us as like communists and stuff. Especially we're from Bulgaria.
Like
post-communist country.
I believe that it's important for a person to be able to live in the 21st century and to make proper decisions and to know how to use democracy, because nonetheless democracy
is a tool,
is the best.
Is an instrument.
Yes, it's a
and
tool.
It's the best we have.
And the people usually, and a lot of elderly people
America,
say say that communism was better, socialism was better, this was better. So first, in my opinion, you should know what's communism, what's socialism,
what it gave us, and what it took, and what it was taken away when they was changed.
Exactly,
because both provide positives and negatives, and it's a topic that's taboo to even measure what was given to the general populace and what was taken when the system was changed.
And democracy is provided the whole idea behind democracy is to give more freedom to the individual to choose.
Yeah.
Now, one way or another, and this became really
we wouldn't have that podcast, and we wouldn't be able to speak freely. We wouldn't be able to think critically to that extent, to the extent that we have. We wouldn't have the freedoms that we do if we were in a different system. For example, if we were in for example in China, that would be much difficult to
right now. Like
your
white
opinion.
raincoats are gonna come in and take me out with handcuffs.
Yeah,
basically. But what I also wanted to mention is, that's like the freedom of democracy, but you still have, a lot of people are going to say,
but it's also
you still have a lot of laws, you still
responsibility.
have this, like you have responsibility, but you're also painting it as if it's all that good. The idea is great, but one way or another, from the past up until now, we have transitioned from having the freedom to choose. Usually democracy was focused on the freedom to choose.
Yeah, and now it's an illusion.
Now it's focused on providing the specific
need.
No, right now it's focused on providing you with a certain amount of choices.
Yeah,
that you have freedom.
Yeah,
you have freedom to
imagine.
To
So I imagine it like this room. This room is a limited space, right?
Yeah.
You cannot go through the wall, right? It's a limited space. So within that limited space, you have the freedom to go to the kitchen. You have the freedom to go and sit on the other chair. You have the freedom to move some objects in that limited space. But that's your confinement. That's your confined area. That's how I look at it. You don't have the freedom. You have the freedom to go and jump out the window if you want, but you still need to. You have that. You understand the analogy that.
Yeah, and especially here in Eastern Europe, that's why, as I said, a lot of elderly people look back at communism, which is horrible, and you can just look at China, how it's progressed and how, like the evolution of communism and where it goes to, and they think of democracy just because there is a lot more corruption. More freedom of good also means more freedom of bad. There's always a balance. And what happens with democracy is a lot of people in these countries talk against it, but they don't use it. Like 30% of people vote, like 70% don't vote, at least in Bulgaria. Can you imagine what kind of, like, this is crazy. I think that in America it's like 50 or 60% even, I'm not sure. Maybe I'm wrong, I'm sorry if I'm wrong. But in most countries, half or less than half the people vote on the government that is going to, and this is of course also related to the fact that there's a limited amount of options that you're provided with, right? But a lot of the population is not proactive in this means.
Let me give you a thought for to think on, right? So,
how long is this podcast becoming?
About an hour and 30 or something like that.
Okay, last question.
It's not really a question, but it's a thought for you to think on, and let's we can expand it in future podcasts. Okay. But and it's something that I not necessarily agree. I have to say in advance. It's just a thought. So to me, corruption is something that is part of human nature. Every system that's why utopia is not going to be achievable. We can strive for it, but we will never live in utopia, because we are human beings, and our nature is to compete, to advance, and some are more naughty than others, and they will try to use the tools that they have at their disposal to get advantage over the competitor. So corruption is something that's never gonna cease to exist, and it exists in China, it exists in Russia, it exists in Germany, it exists in America, and everybody knows that, because if it wasn't that way, I mean,
we wouldn't be discussing it.
Yeah, we wouldn't be discussing it.
So let me actually get closer. So what happened just now is that, for some reason, because we're still new at this, the mics cut off, so you're gonna have to listen to our discussion through the camera mic. I'm really sorry about that. Next time it's not gonna happen. Thank you so much for the patience. Cheers.
So the main problem that I come to notice is that in Western democracies and in basically the richer the country is, the harder it is for the normal person, the middle class, to take advantage of the possibility for corruption to advance themselves in the system they exist. But it's not the same if you are financially better than the middle class. If you are a millionaire or a billionaire, you have more financial tools to create corruption, to take advantage of corruption, to advance your goals for your company, for your political party, for whatever. Or you let's say that you are ecologically, you're part of some eco-friendly group and you want to advance that specific reform to save the forest, then of course corruption can help you achieve that in a way, you know. But if you are not financially good or even better, you will not be able to take advantage of that. And what I'm trying to say is that in richer economies, smaller people, by smaller I mean myself, like lower class people, they cannot really take advantage of the corruption, but it's there, it exists. While in poorer countries, such as in Eastern Europe, smaller people do have access to corruption to make their lives easier. Because there is a lot of bureaucracy in every organization, in every country. There is a lot of bureaucracy, and corruption is sometimes a way to make your life easier. Or
corruption is the tax to save your time, basically.
Corruption is a word that inherits really negative weight on its name, on the word itself, because the act of corruption is going against the law, going against the rules.
Well, in most cases it's negative. In most cases,
because corruption
like
can be used.
80% of cases of corruption is really bad.
Really bad.
And it affects countries and institutions and societies.
In a really negative way. It can destroy the nature, it can destroy the country, it can destroy your way of life, because corruption...
Let me give an example, so everybody can understand what you're saying,
yeah.
Because it's just like a thought, as you said, but it's a good example that I have. A buddy of mine lives in his house for, let's say, 30 years. And on the last floor of the house, he's taking care of his aunt, something like this. And she's becoming older and she passes away eventually, right? The moment she passes away, some people that have a right to the inheritance come in and try to take away his house, basically. He's been living there with his family, with his kids for 30 years.
And then
he's taking care of the house. And he's taking care of the mother of these people. They are nowhere to be found. She passes away. Maybe they've been like left or right coming there, but the moment she passes away, they come in with the rights to take away the house, which is incredibly crazy when you think about it, because he has like a family and kids, and it's his home. Yeah, and those guys pay to a specific, I think, lawyer or
some agency.
Yeah, some agency, some jurisdiction to raise those documents for them and to place them in court against them. And he had the ability to also, funny enough, pay the judge to rule against him, to rule in his favor and save his house. And this is kind of like a story of, I guess, who's paying more, which is not even good.
Yeah,
I would say
it's terrible situation. When your justice system is corrupted, that's really bad.
Yeah,
really bad.
So I cannot even in this regard, I cannot even say that it's a good story. I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, because it's really good example, because when talking about corruption, there are different levels of corruption and there is different impact and different scale of corruption. Perhaps what I'm trying to say is, for example, for low to medium class families, access to corruption is on a different scale, and they, for example, let's say that I cannot really come up with a good example. I can, but I don't know if it.
giving 20 to the police officer to stop you with the car so he doesn't give you a ticket.
For example,
For instance, you cannot do this as far as I know in America.
Or
but
in Germany, you can even go to jail.
Yeah, but here you can give just like 20 euro, and he's like, okay, I didn't see anything. You weren't like speeding, so have a nice day, and that's it.
And
he warns you, but you know what I mean.
Or let's say that speeding is a huge problem, but let's say that
I'm not saying that you should speed. I'm just giving you an example.
We're trying to think critically, and it's a sensitive topic, and a lot of people can.
And this isn't, this is the interesting thing. We should go to these extremes. Like if people are gonna listen to us, let's just go to the extremes because nobody else is gonna see. Like most people won't see.
Yeah, that's the reason we're.
So so why not just hate? Just hate on us, and that's it. That's okay.
Okay, so I mean, access to corruption is an instrument, and that instrument is only available when, for example, in the richer countries, it's only available to very small amounts of people, and it creates a really sour taste in your mouth.
And it also creates the illusion that it's not.
It's really unfair society. That's an unfair society because it creates a really grudge between classes. Because lower classes don't have access to the same instruments that higher classes have. And by classes I mean purely financially. And of course it's a complex topic, and financial gain can make you also smarter because you can go to better universities, you can go to better education, etc. But let's focus on
everything has a plus and a minus here.
Yeah.
So, and it's important to note, if you're talking about corruption, you cannot talk about corruption without mentioning laws and without mentioning restrictions, because corruption basically goes above those. That's corruption. Yeah. So, when you have a society, in today's world I think this is quite predominant, when you have a society that doesn't pay a huge attention to the laws that get accepted into your country or into like your union or anything else, you don't.
It's out of your reach.
Yeah, you don't even care about it so much. You don't care what's the next law. You don't care what's the next restriction.
And you should.
But you don't pay attention to this. You might be lying to yourself that it is going to be a law that is being placed that is being placed on everybody. Hence, it's a good law. But no, it's a law that's being placed on people that don't have access to corruption.
Exactly.
Overall, and that's how it goes. And the people that would really dislike what I'm saying are the people that know that it's true.
Yeah.
And that's the case, man.
Yeah.
Let's discuss it in like another.
This deserves a really in-depth.
Yeah, and we should get
probably a lawyer.
Yeah, a lawyer, a judge, somebody. To come here.
I have two people in mind.
I think that they are not going to agree
to
the guests, because they're gonna place themselves with questions like this. We're not going to be blaming them.
No, of course.
But being inside of this area of work, critical thinking, just like in a lot of areas of work, can give you trouble.
It can give you trouble.
Interesting, huh? So look.
Let's discuss this.
Our next, just for everybody to know, our next guest, as I mentioned, is going to be an incredibly interesting guy, really successful, working with robotics and really young. And to me, what's going to be related to my questions is, how did he manage to become so successful and so smart in a specific area at such a young age? Because I think this is incredibly inspiring.
Yeah.
And
I believe that we can learn something from him. A lot.
Oh, a lot, yeah. Like that's the point. So that other young people can listen to him and they can understand.
Yeah.
So
with that said, thank you for staying until the end, for listening to our long and rants. And that's our first episode of Kolobar. Again, really, thank you for being here, for sharing this moment with us.
And by the way, something really important. The current audience that is going to be watching us, to me, you are the VIP audience, because you're the very first. You're the ones that are starting this off together with us. So anything that you write in the comments of the podcast as an inquiry, a question, as an idea, trust me that we're going to read it and we're going to take it seriously.
We're going to take note. We're also going to remember you. We will remember
you, and we would like to take ideas from you about future podcasts.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about expressing what we believe and what we like. It's also about what you like.
It's also about you. If you want to be part of Kolobar, if you want to come and be our guest, just contact us. You know, we would love to hear about your story. We believe that everybody has an interesting story, no matter
their position.
No matter how they view themselves, no matter how others view them. So to us, what is important is the human-to-human interaction, and the value that we can get from a conversation with you is great. So if you want to be part of Kolobar, you just contact us and we'll schedule your visit.
Yeah. And thank you so much for everything and for the time.
Like, subscribe, comment, ring the bell if you enjoyed it, and see you in our next podcast.
Cheers for now. Bro.